Welcome back to Evolve the Podcast. This is episode 3, and I'm your host, Isa Valdez. And I want to jump right into it. And we want to talk about my trip to Vegas and what did I learn. So, I'm in Vegas. I meet a friend on the airport. Well, I call him my friend now. We've been friends now for the last 12 years. Thank you, Jesus. He's always been the voice of reason for me, and I'm just grateful for him always. And in Vegas, he was really, really cool to me. He took on a stranger who he met just minutes ago, and he took me literally under his wing to steer me into the right direction. And I tell you, it was a setup from the word go. I like to credit the Lord for every single thing that I do. It was because of him. He is the grand weaver of it all, right? He knew that I was going to look into that guy's hand at the time and see his passport. He knew that I needed direction, and he placed him on the airline, I like to say, just for me. And I'm grateful to that. And the next few days went into him telling me his experience in radio and TV. He currently works for the UN right now, so he's doing pretty good. He's doing well, and that means he's living in another country. But he's great. And one of the things that he said to me was, "You just have to make a list. I'm gonna tell you what all you need. When we go on the exhibit floor, you just walk around the exhibit floor and see what is there." And so we got to the exhibit floor the day before it was actually opened. If you've ever visited any conferences, any major conferences, they have like teaching sessions, and then they have the exhibits where you walk around and you see what's new, you see what's trending, you see what's in the industry, right? What's new and up and coming for the industry. And this was the very vast experience for me because I've never really been outside of the state of Florida. Well, I've been to Tennessee, in New York. Well, I've never been into a big conference like that before, so it was brand spanking new for me. Everything was lighting my eyes up like candy, but yet still I had no idea what I was doing there. And I tell you, I got there. We snuck in. He's like, "Let's get in." We snuck in when the exhibit was not open, and we were able to walk around to different places. And I tell you, meeting people in the industry was phenomenal for me because remember now, I have a degree in accounting, and so therefore these things were foreign to me, right? I had limited knowledge, rudimentary knowledge on what I needed, what had to take place, and it was only the grand weaver himself putting all of it together for me, right? So I get to the exhibit floor and I start talking to different people, and this one guy said to me, "Why don't you call this gentleman? His name is XX." And I said, "Oh, I met him. I spoke to him, and he just gave me one invoice, right?" And he was like, "What? Come, let me school you." And after he was then I was at that point that I realized that he was the Shively, right? Shively is one of the major antenna companies in the United States. And he sat me down and he taught me everything about gains, what antenna is supposed to do, what the transmitter is supposed to do, what the audio processor is supposed to do, what the codec is supposed to do. Like, he just sat me down and he taught me everything that I needed to know. And it was in that moment that I realized that I was supposed to be here at this time. It was in that moment I realized that your assignment and whatever that assignment is will come together to speak for you, right? And it will come together just when you need it. Everything will come into line. So if you have an assignment, it's birthing on the inside of you, you have to begin to make the first step to put it into action, because once you make that first step to put it into action, the Lord will begin to weave all of the pieces together so that it will fall into place. And that's exactly what happened to me when I went to the NAB show. I learned everything that I needed to know. I found a few people who would be able to give me uh, all of the details of what everything was going to cost. Because up to that point, I had no idea. I had nothing in my wildest imagination as to what was needed and how much I needed and to make it all come to life, right? And so I call myself a trailblazer. Some people do call me a trailblazer too, because I began to set up into motion the first gospel radio station on the island of Grand Bahama. That's what I did. And I watched it come to life. And so in Vegas, I remember I had signed myself up for, some classes so that I can be more versed in sales and marketing and just, getting to meet different people. And I remember coming out of my hotel room, and I literally felt the weight of the assignment. Like, I felt my employees and that they needed to work. It was a I would say it was a refreshing of my assignment so that I could keep focused on exactly what I was supposed to do. So this is April 2010, right? And so it took me, I guess, 8 hours to get to Vegas and 8 hours to get back. And then the work began, right? So I was already armed with everything that I thought that I needed to start the radio station. And it was just one day I picked up the phone and I called the then Minister of Finance to find out, what do I need to do to get a grant or a loan. And he sent me to one of his subordinates, and that relationship, that encounter, that meeting with his subordinate was another wink. I call certain things God winks, right? That was an absolute God wink for me. I sat down in his office. I explained to him what I wanted to do, and he looked at me and he said, I am going to help you. He said, do you have a business plan? I said, no, I do not have a business plan. And he said to me, it's okay. Whatever you need, I am going to help you with it. I have a model of a business plan, but we're going to sit down and we're going to construct this plan. This plan, because it was a plan to open up a radio station. He said, I'm going to construct this plan for you to see this into fruition. And what I now see is that him talking to me and putting the radio station as I want to call it, I'd like to say it's a gem that he held in his hand and said, I'm going to delicately make this happen. And the words of the Bible where it says, write the vision and make it plain that it will speak for you, is what we did with the business plan. And I'm a firm believer in writing your vision down and making it plain. I have so many things that I use to write with. I love to write. When thoughts come to me, I write them down. I refer back to it. I go back to it over and over and over again so that I can commit it to my memory, and so that things will become more visual for me. And so it took us months to put everything together. It took us months to formulate a plan, And I want to say this gentleman that helped me, he was a godsend. And I call him a masterful financial genius because he took what I said, what I wanted, and he put it into numbers on a business plan for me. And once he was done with it, he handed it to me and he said, I've given you the blueprint that you need to finish it. All you have to do is put in all the necessary numbers and it's a go. And when I saw it and I brought it, it was like my vision was brought to life on an Excel sheet, right? Well, multiple Excel sheets because with a business plan you need more than one Excel sheet. So, needless to say, it just came to life for me and I felt a rejuvenated sense of urgency as well as a fresh push to keep going because I realized it was these steps that I then realized that this is the assignment for me. This is what I am supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to bring this to life. And so every single step that I took from inception to where I was right then began the process of bringing the radio station Dove 103.7 to life. It did not mean that I didn't have challenges along the way because I assure you I had major challenges in my life. I really did. But what it says is that in of your challenges, you are able to overcome them when you have a bigger picture in the end. So you have to see your vision all the way to the end in spite of what you're going through. So many of us go through things, and so we have to have a laser focus to the end goal of our vision for it to come to life, because it won't come to life if you're just sitting down twiddling your thumbs. It will come to life when you take action. Action is the first step in your ability to see your entire vision come to life. So, in order for you to become that best-selling author or a speaker or a teacher or a professor or a dancer or a swim coach, whatever it is that you want to do, in order for you to do it, you have to make that first step. And whatever that first step may look like, I would suggest that you get a piece of paper or a book and begin to write down, because it will speak for you. It will come to life and it will do exactly what it's supposed to do. All right, so I want to say stay tuned for the next episode because I'm dropping it a little bit sooner, because on episode 5 I am going to talk about some cool things with regards to reading and writing your vision. And then in episode 6 I have a guest speaker. Well, I have a guest. I shouldn't say a speaker. I have a guest, and she is going to help you understand the vision and the visionary. So stay tuned, and thank you for tuning in. See you next week, or see you next episode.